This is Comic Burrito. A live stream. I'm Todd.
I'm Cole.
And this is
Welcome.
Comic Burrito, a live stream.
Yeah, there's two of us today.
Oh, is there? Is it not usually two of us?
I don't know the answer to that.
Is there usually more than us?
I think so.
I have no recollection of this. That's not true. We're missing Nick because he has had a long week and he had a big day and he's a tired boy. So we're letting him rest. So it's Cole and I are manning the burrito today. No cheese filling on this one. Sorry. Just meat and tortilla.
Yeah. Which I'm glad that I switched because I think originally, if you watch one of the earlier videos, I call myself the cheese, but I'm glad that I'm now the meat.
Yeah, no, you're the tortilla.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I'm the tortilla. That's fine. You can be.
You wrap us all together in one pretty package.
I wrap it up. That's what
Proud
I do.
of you.
Hi, everybody. What's up?
Hello.
Burrito is. Thank you, Sam King.
Yeah.
Reno's Comics. What's
Hello
up?
And welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hitting us up. Andrew. Sup? Hi, Steve. Cole got his beer and I put my pants on, so we're all set for now.
Technically, my beer is a Sprite.
Well,
in honor of LeBron James.
I was just about to say
Space
Jam.
The movie.
Yes. I'm so excited. It's so dumb. I'm so excited. Hi, King Paul. Oh, Blues. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. What are you going to do? And then, oh, hey, it's Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, buddy.
But also this.
Nick was day drinking. Or just hard night drinking. Which is probably more accurate.
Or both.
I have a Canadian doppelganger. I can't go once or twice a week without somebody saying that I look just like somebody else. So I appreciate you filling that quota for me, Kane Paul. Yeah. Nick is here, but he's not here. Yeah. So what? Hi, Dad.
Hey, Vern.
What you been reading?
I haven't done too much reading in the last few days. I read 2 issues of Invincible.
Yeah.
Like I think 13, 14.
Nice.
I read 2 issues
before you watch the show.
So I watched part of the first issue, and then I like kind of from what I've heard from people is you should have the third 3 trades, I think 3rd or 5 maybe.
It's a lot, yeah.
So I just figure I'll keep going. I have the compendium, so I keep it by my bedside, and I read like 1 or 2 issues a night. And then I didn't want to bring that when I got my shot, so I brought Smoketown. So I read issue 1 and 2 of Smoketown while I was waiting in the lobby there.
Smoketown.
Oh, I read Once in Future 17 because it wasn't in my box the week that it came out.
Oh, nice. So you caught up. It's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
the colors in that book are so good. Like
they are
hard
really
to
good.
like. Especially that issue is one with so many like bright colors where you're just like, holy smokes, these are some crazy colors.
Oh wow!
What about you?
Happy belated birthday, Vern.
Oh, it was Vern's birthday recently.
Yeah, it was
oh yeah, I forgot you took him to a shop.
2
weeks
we
sang happy birthday to him on the stream. I'm pretty sure.
What else? I'm trying to think of what I didn't talk about on Wednesday. I don't know if we talked about Shadecraft. No, we did.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm just, I didn't read much either because a new video game came out and then I can't help myself. So the comic book reading, but I'm once again just going to be like, this is the fucking best comic right now. And everyone needs to be goddamn reading it. The Other History of the DC Universe. Oh my fucking God. God, if you're not reading it, this is going to be a classic. This will be something that I think schools, once it's like hardbound, it will be studied and it will be in libraries as serious works. This is an important piece of literature that everyone should be reading. It's incredible.
I still have not read the 3rd issue, but I plan to tomorrow.
Oh, I love it.
I just haven't had 40 minutes to sit down and read the other history of the DC universe.
Yeah,
Issue 3.
I've read it twice now, and it's so good. What video game? Outriders.
The outside Outriders side.
From Square Enix. They make Final Fantasy and this game. But yeah, other history of the DC universe I've read again since then because I just really can't. I just love it so much. Destiny New York has been staying in my head since Wednesday, so I put that in a good place on my list because it's definitely stuck with me. And then it was Source Point Day, so like all the Source Point stuff was tight. Like the 6 Source Point titles that I read or something like that. They were great.
I might even read Beta Ray Bill again.
Yeah, I might too, because it's a quick enough read. And yeah. I enjoyed it enough.
I'd be interested to hear what you think about that, because I read that. I really like the Al Ewing issue because you like need a D6 and you kind of play. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure, but kind of not. And it's kind of fun, which reminds me, I think I said that I would bring you that copy. So I'll try and remind me on Wednesday.
Cool. That'd be dope.
Because yeah, I mean, that was fun. I mean, the Benjamin Percy story was pretty good, but I also know nothing about Carnage for the most part. So I'm not sure that this is a book for me. I just saw all the names and was like,
okay,
I'll get it.
Yeah. I really liked Wolverine, Black, White, and Red. Yeah.
I know Donnie Cates is going to do an issue of it. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so there's like 3. I think this one had 3 stories in the issue, and I'm guessing that's what the Wolverine ones were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so yeah, he's just doing one of them.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
Yeah. Oh, I also read another book.
I was like, speaking of Black and White, that was going to be my segue. Oh man, that's a really cool book. Also from Source Point Press, something, you know what? We could talk about it, just us. Or we could talk with somebody who may or may not know a little bit more than we do about it. It's Jason Douglas.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
So good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Hey, can we start off by can we get down to brass tacks? That was an excellent segue. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep,
You're the first person that's complimented our segues. Usually they're really bad.
Yep. We've begun segueing to everything, and it's not always so seamless and amazing.
Oh man, what was there's a book by Scout called Children of the Graves.
Oh,
and I think the segue was that. Speaking about putting dead kids in holes.
Yep. No, there's speaking of dead parents, because it was Orphan.
Oh yeah.
It was Orphan and the Five Beasts.
Yeah.
And I was like, speaking of dead parents, and I was just like, oh no, I'm sorry.
No, this was much better. I was really impressed.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So you wrote Parallel.
I did. That's absolutely true.
Yep. End of interview.
Thank you. Good night. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. Yeah,
it was great. Great having you. Great insight. Do you want to, for those uninitiated who don't know, do you want to give people a summary as to what Parallel is?
Sure. Well, Parallel's it's a 64-page one-shot graphic novel. As you guys mentioned, it's a Source Point book. It's actually my first comic, and it's a pretty dark sci-fi parallel universe tale. That's the comic angle. That at its root is all about the underlying themes of quarter-life crisis and dreams deferred, and letting those dreams kind of slide by, and life just keeps on going. And the way our story plays out. Oh, I'm going to interrupt my thing right here because Adam Ferris, the artist, just texted me and completely threw off my groove. It like popped up my screen. He's like, "Don't fuck this up." Great, thank you, Adam.
Hey, if he wants to try to be your safety, you can throw him the link.
Adam's watching. I was going to be on such a roll, and then he did that. He did that on purpose, and I love him for it. So
if you want to throw in the link, he can come talk about the art if you want.
So Parallel is it's a story of Landon, and Landon is pushing 30, and he has come to that rut in life where he's stagnant, right? And his decisions to let go of his dreams, in his early 20s, in his case, music, have kind of got to that point where he wakes up in 8 years have gone by, and where am I? And while that is something that's relatable to a lot of people, Landon's different because his angst, his anxiety, his depression begins to manifest, and he starts to hear voices and see visions, and it's this other version of himself. And this other version of himself is offering him the life that he could have had. And if only he will just. And unfortunately for Landon, the things that he has to do and the decisions he's got to make and the mental and physical harm he's got to put himself into to get this very seductive other life, this second chance, might just not be very good for him in the here and now. And you kind of follow his arc throughout the book. And it's kind of a bit of a crescendo of tension where he's kind of seeking this desire, this second chance that so many of us don't get. But what's at stake, it just might not be worth it.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. That's a fantastic summary. Yeah. It's interesting because you started off with saying it's a 64-page one-shot.
Mm-hmm.
You pick it up and you're like, oh, it's pretty thin. Like, there's so much in it. There's a lot of dialogue to read. I think it's a quick read for how much there is in there, because you're just kind of screaming through it, because it's like, it goes from one beat to the next very quickly, but it is still pretty dense. And there's a lot of content in there.
There's, I think in the conception of it, I wrote the first 32 pages kind of like almost in a bubble, right? This was before there was any plan on what might come next, right? This is before SourcePoint was involved. This is before I'd met Adam, any of that stuff. And I wrote that first half, and that's kind of, well, literally the halfway point of the book. But even from the beginning, something that I was thinking about was, I like a story that, and this is just like the fanboy in me, I like a story that does move, that does flow, but is pretty dense. And definitely one of the things I'm really, really proud of with the end result is the rereadability. Like, once you get to the end of this book, and there's I don't want to call it a twist ending, because that's not what it is, but it's a very, there's some ambiguity at the ending, and how you personally as the reader interpret it is kind of up to you. But one of the kind of little bits of magic that I ended up being really proud of is when you go back and read it a second time, you see stuff for the first time. You see clues that was in the script, and then even more importantly to me, a bunch of clues and hints that might change your mind about things that Adam put in there. One of my biggest compliments that I've said kind of over and over again now in the promotion of this book is Adam as an artist can draw ambiguity. Now, I don't know what the hell that means when I say that out loud. Like, I really don't even know what that means, but it's true. And there's just stuff that was in the script and then stuff that he added visually that you can read it 2 times in a row and come out of it, I think, with different opinions about what happened and how much of what's happening in Landon's head is real or not. And that can change from panel to panel, from page to page, and from reading to reading. So hopefully it's something that, at that 64 pages, like, you want to actually kind of pick up and read it again.
And I'm glad that you actually mentioned like the art and all that stuff, because I right before you got on, when Todd and I were talking, I'd kind of like pitched the, like, I'm pretty sure this is what the ending means, but also I don't know if that's what the ending means, because it's kind of one of those where it's definitely left, definitely open. But yeah, I mean, it even says, like, Renos is saying that feels that the story could still continue. I mean, do you have any plans to try and continue the story at all?
Parallels?
Not really. I never really have thought about it in that respect. I mean, I can see what it could be. I don't know if there's a story in that or not. I kind of like it where it is because you can. I mean, right at that ending, you can go back to the beginning and start again.
I mean, Perpendicular would be a cool book.
It would be a pretty cool book.
The classic follow-up to Parallel, Perpendicular. Yeah, and
right angles
yes.
only, my friends.
Everything, and it's all 4-panel pages the whole way through, so you get the perpendicular line. It's right there.
Yeah, make it all 9 panels, and Todd will be a happy camper.
So many perpendiculars. That's great. For anybody who's intrigued by this, which I don't know how you're not intrigued by this at this point, it is $6.99 on SourcePoint Press's website. That is a fucking fantastic deal for this much book. You have spent a lot more for a lot less people.
Yeah.
Trust me.
And I think it's in the description too, and there's even the diamond code.
That's like $1 more than a Batman book now, and this is 64 pages, and it's really good.
And the digital copy's up there too. I think that's only $2.99.
Yes, and that's and if you use this is news. This is brand new. You can also use Burrito all caps in the store and get 10% off. So yeah, there's also a link that if you follow in the description, and anything you get after you click on that link will already be 10% off. It'll put the coupon code on there for you. So boom, there you go. It's not boom, it's SourcePoint.
Yeah.
But
and if you're here in the chat, make sure if you're just lurking, that you at least leave a comment, because at some point tonight we'll be giving away this copy if it's signed.
There's a signature on there.
There's a signature on that. I recognize that signature.
You forged that one a lot?
No, I just forged the Justin Birch signature.
Ah, smart. Yeah.
I just went into Illustrator and wrote Justin Birch and then printed it and then taped it to the copy. I figured that's good.
Just like key letters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, signed by Jason Douglas. So make sure to, if you want your copy, type a comment.
So can I take you guys like behind the scenes, like the inside baseball thing for a minute about just the smallest detail? Okay.
100%.
So I don't think I've talked about this to anybody yet.
Breaking news.
The signature stressed me out so much. So like we're talking about in the, let's call it like the last 6 months before it existed in the world. Right. I mean, there's all these check marks along the way in this multi-year process of writing it and then connecting with SourcePoint and meeting Adam and then lettering and promotion. And, there's tons of stuff we can talk about along the way. But at some point it hit me, like the fan in me, right? The person who's gone to cons and met creators that I respected and loved. And like, all I care about is, can you just scribble on my book, please? Right. Make my day. It hit me like at some point I'm going to need to do that. And I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't have like what's on, like what goes on a check or what goes on the bottom of a letter or something is just, it's not going to cut it. It's not cool enough. It's not legible. It's not anything. And I not that the signature that I came up with is like any great shakes, but man, I put in some work. I put in some time. I crowdsourced. I went out and I was like, what do you think of this? What about this one? I'm sitting at my day job at work at lunch with my colleagues going, what about one? I was like the eye doctor, better one, better two. And it's just back and forth and like trying it out. And it was like really, really stressful. And most people, like colleagues that I talked to, like in the comic book industry, were like really rolling their eyes at me. But man, stress and anxiety that in the book, I had some real life stuff just about that signature. So hopefully it works.
Amazing.
Well, I'm sorry that you got that much stress over having to figure out your signature. Yeah. Which is funny because mine is just garbage. I mean, anyone that has received any sort of mail or written thing from me, I write like, a third grader probably can write better than me, but that's still fine. Yeah,
it's the thing. It's so sad. Parallel lines have so much in common, yet they'll never meet, and it's really sad. My math teacher's favorite type of tree was geometry.
Oh, good Lord.
Just
because they ask for the puns doesn't mean you have to give them.
A triangle was talking with a circle and said, "You're pointless."
Oh,
I think I'm out. There you go,
Okay.
poser. I think that's my math pun. I'm out. You gotta give the people what they want.
yeah, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
So when you,
Jason,
What? Yeah.
Jason just leaves.
sorry to get on weird math tangents. Let's talk about this comic some more. Did you choose to have this in black and white? Because that, I mean, is kind of a big part about it, and I don't know that, like, I would prefer it with colors, I guess.
I mean, that was a publishing decision that was actually made before I had given it much thought. And then by the time we were into it, by the time I started to see Adam's first pages, it was the right decision right away. Like, I mean, Travis McIntyre, the co-founder and president and editor-in-chief of SourcePoint, made that call pretty early on. And then, what his motivations for it were whatever they were. But man, when that art started rolling in, especially, God, the second half of the book, when things get literally a lot darker for Landon and some of the decisions he's got to make, and it gets pretty tense. There were I remember panels were coming in and pages were coming in from Adam, and I mean, it's not a noir book, and yet there was a vibe, and there were panels and there were pages where I'm going, God, if this were in color, it would not work.
Yeah, it wouldn't have landed the same.
I really like it. I really like it thematically because, black and white is symbolic of yes and no, cut and dry, literally black and white. And the fact that what Landon's going through, if you're talking about the comic bookness of it, right, the parallel dimensions, or if you're talking about the based in reality of people struggling with that life decision about dreams deferred and the stress and anxiety that comes with time passing and you're leaving it all behind, that's the opposite of black and white. That's the gray in the middle. That's like life is never cut and dry.
Yeah.
So I think it really, really works. I mean, symbolically and literally, and from the shading palette, I think it actually works for the book and the story perfectly.
From that, yeah, no, I agree. I think that it is best suited in black and white. I'm also just a sucker for black and white because it just shows there's less to hide on the page, and you're really just looking at one thing. It's just the art and it's the story. Like there is no, like, I mean, I love a good flashy color and a good vibrant, just like, whoa, taken back and everything. But sometimes it's just really nice to just kind of focus in and absorb what's being like told instead of being like distracted or anything like that. I think it lends well to how dense this book is too. What was so you had half the book done before art was even involved, you said?
Yeah. So
how did that process go? Did you make half a book and then like be like, hey, SourcePoint, I got half a book, what you think? What was the process for you?
I mean, it's longer than that because like the gestation period for this was a while. I mean, this was a dream of mine since I was a kid, but it was the unattainable dream. It was the back of your mind dream. It was the one that never goes away, but you can never, you either too scared or the time isn't right. I mean, it's pretty darn close motivation wise to some of the themes in the book of just like time just keeps on passing.
Yeah.
And I kind of came in a very roundabout way to deciding the time was the time. It wasn't any great strike of like inspiration on my part. It was, I had been writing, my day job as a public school teacher, and I've been writing plays and skits for elementary school kids and then middle school kids because I was running drama clubs and we didn't have a budget. And in my ignorance is bliss state, I was like, well, if I can't afford to buy a play, I think it's pretty easy to just write one. So I did. Amazing. But that had been going on. I know, really. But that had been going on for enough years where I'd gotten pretty good at it. And I had a couple things published with that. And so one summer, instead of writing a play, I was like, well, now's the time to write a comic. And fairly recently, I had brainstormed the idea with my buddy Pete about the concept of the parallel world twist. And then the real catalyst came for this particular story, not on my deferred comic dream, but on the fact that I have been doing the teaching game long enough where I've got former students who are literally Landon's age and are waking up, pushing 30 and going, where did my dream go? Right. When I was 22, I had a world of tomorrows, and I could take that job. I could get in that relationship. I could make that decision to pay the rent tomorrow because my dream will be there the next day. And they wake up 5 years later and I get an email from them like, I'm supposed to be in Chicago at that dance studio, right? Like, remember when we started? And then it's gone. And those things kind of just came together at once. And I took the summer and I sat down and I wrote that first 32 pages, right? The idea was there. It was time. It all just came together. But you know what? It was the ignorance is bliss thing again. I totally did it in a bubble. Had I known the challenges and the time and the effort, it probably would have scared me off again, if I'm being honest with you, right? Because I did the exact same thing that I did several years earlier with plays. I was just like, well, I'll just do it, right? Yeah. I'll just because I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, and I found a template online, right? I think it was a Fred Van Lente, here's what a comic script looks like, and I'd seen enough in the back matter of trades, right? I can do this, and it is such a different animal. But I didn't know, so I just did it, and I wrote those first 32 pages, and then again, my ignorance was, well, what happens next? I'm not going to go any further until I find out what this is and if it's something that can exist in the world. And I did my cursory and step beyond cursory searches online and found that, most websites you go to either do not want your unsolicited script, or if they want something unsolicited, they certainly don't want your script. They want art. Yeah. And it was not a very welcome kind of thing. And again, had I known better, I probably would have been scared off at that point. But I'm a bit archaic in most of my ways. So I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my classroom. I'm going to get an old school manila file folder. And I'm going to get some colored paper clips out of my desk. And I'm going to make packets like it's the 1970s, and I'm going to go to Motor City Comic Con in the spring, and I'm going to walk up to publishers and say, here is my comic, like that's how it's done, which it's not. And nice. I went to Motor City, and SourcePoint always has the most beautiful setup, and they caught my eye first. And I started walking over there, and there was this magnificent man with the biggest, most luxurious red beard you've ever seen.
Travis, he's the best.
Right. Now I don't know. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know who you're talking to.
That beard
that's so great.
Calling to me.
Yep.
And I walked straight up to the president of SourcePoint Press and was like, here is this thing, and it is for you. Yeah. And I think he was a little bit like, okay. I like the cut of your jib. I think you're trying to pitch me a comic in 1971. Are you aware that it's 21st century? But we're going to take a look at this because I think you've caught me off guard. And he took it home that night. He's like, come back and see me tomorrow. And we were in business. And so I got to be really careful. Like I consider myself very lucky, right? In a lot of these steps along the way, because my path to this first published comic is obviously not traditional. It's obviously a bit unorthodox, especially in the 21st century of how this is usually done. Yeah. But I also have to be very careful using that word lucky. A lot of my SourcePoint colleagues are like, don't use that word, because what it does is it undersells your grind, the time and the effort and the blood, sweat, and tears that all the people along the way, including
you didn't just manifest that by genie powers. Like, you worked on it. Yeah.
So and that's how it happened. That's how it happened. So there is luck involved. There was a lot of hard work involved, but there's a bit of magic too.
That's really awesome to hear. I was definitely kind of wondering what made you choose SourcePoint Press, and I know you were in Michigan. I assumed that it was just the Michigan tie, which
is why they're at Motor City.
Yeah.
That works out. That's really cool. That's awesome. I love it. very unique for right now. I think that's our first time anyone's been like, oh yeah, I handed them a paper script and I didn't know who they were. That's great.
Yeah, I know. What's kind of funny about it, just even the timing of it, it was, I mean, at that point, SourcePoint had been, making their bones on the con circuit and just crushing it at con after con after con. I mean, their reputation like preceded them. But it was like I think I signed my contract, God, just like a small handful of months before they hit previews. For the first
That's
time.
awesome.
Obviously,
I mean,
That's
cool.
know where it's gone since then. I mean, they're a drop in the bucket compared to the big two, but like massive compared to indie publishing. I mean, they're doing it right,
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. They're doing it so right. If you go to their store and use Burrito all caps, you can get 10% off this awesome anything. You guys
are such insiders. I love it. Well connected up the chain. I
may have known one of the upper staff people, which I'm very public about it. I'm very good friends with one of the people higher up in Oxide Media / SourcePoint. I met him on the con circuit, and then I met Travis and Josh doing cons too and all of that. So I love SourcePoint. They're, oh man, I honestly love it. So it is the perfect spot for a parallel
situation. I could not have asked for a better situation because, what I really discovered was, as much as they're blowing up and as well as they're doing on so many fronts, it always has been and continues to be a family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the success comes from that, like the close-knitness of it, the everybody helping everybody supporting everybody, and just the family dynamic of it. Like Casey Pierce is my friend, my mentor, my godmother. Wrote the foreword. Casey Pierce, one of the most talented writers on the planet, writes the foreword to Parallel for me. And this is not a joke when I say it's worth the price of admission. Like what she writes, read her, get the digital copy, pay $2.99, read her intro, and then you don't have to read the rest. I mean, she's that.
Amazing.
I think that's the first time that anyone said buy this only for the forward.
Casey Pierce.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Also, SourcePoint Press. This is coming back. I don't think you can find this right now, but Josh Werner last week said that this will be getting redone and reprinted. So you start making your SourcePoint cart now. Yeah.
So I know this came out in like July of last year. Did you have any issues with like COVID with like releasing on this? Because I mean, we weren't, I guess it's in line with you then. So I know that there's been a lot of struggles with people, especially from the smaller publishers, with those issues.
I mean, so because it's my first book, I don't have a prior frame of reference. So the weirdest things that happened are the first things that happened. You know what I mean? Like it's all, I don't want to say it's all normal to me, but it's the way I've experienced it is the way I've experienced it. But yeah, there was a hiccup or two. The one that I laugh at now, but oh my God, I was pulling my hair out, was a couple of days before it hit Diamond, right? Before it hit Diamond website and then was in with previews last year. I'm just like, it's like Googling yourself a little bit, but for comic books, like you go on there to see it. Cause I wanted to see it I wanted to see my name and I wanted to see the book's name and stuff like that. They misspelled my name and they misspelled,
it's so complicated.
They misspelled Parallel. And I think it was Jason Dualgas. And so basically there was no way to find the book, right? Like, I sent the most. I know that text/email does not transfer emotion all that well, but Josh Werner picked up on the panic in my words that I typed the man, and he sent back the like, I'm on this. And like when Josh does something, like it gets fixed right away, and it got fixed right away. But that was the first hiccup. And then obviously the distribution happened or was going to happen right in the middle of shutdown. And the people who ordered directly through, it got weird. The people who ordered directly through, and the shops who ordered directly through SourcePoint got their books early.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the people who went through Diamond, and the stores that went through Diamond, got it months late. Eventually they all got out there. And then like the biggest kind of hiccup in the road was, you know, whether this is a one-time thing for me or I've got a future in this industry in whatever form it takes, you know, part of my dream was living this experience from beginning to end, right? The gestation of the idea all the way to the end product, which is cons and signings. And that last piece still hasn't happened, right? All that.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
All those. I mean, we did all that legwork ahead of time, and we had, you know, I was attached to work this con, that con, this con, that con with SourcePoint, and travel with them and stuff like that. And like Casey and I had a bunch of events, and Adam and I had all these signings lined up and stuff like that. And there was like premiere ones because again, all this, you know, fanboy stuff happened. Like they made variants. They made 3 variants out of this book. You know, this is not me. I had variants. There's variant covers of, you know, my story. It was like all the dreams are coming true. And then that last piece still hasn't happened. So I'm still waiting for that. But that was, I mean, that's the biggest hiccup along the line. What was that kind of got derailed, not being able to go to cons and do that piece, right? Like I was very much looking forward to that, not going to those signings and being able to pitch the book that way. Now, you know, conversely, I got to do a lot more of this than I think probably would have happened, right? I got to be on a lot more cool shows and talk to people in this way.
You've been on cool shows?
Hours.
Like basically warm-ups for the coolest show.
Oh, where are you going on next? You're going on Bearded's channel? That's cool.
This is it, guys. This is the apex mountain for me.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we have a burrito in our logo. That's cool.
There you go.
But to make you feel a little bit better.
That's devastating. I get the con thing though. I'm assuming once they start back up, you got to still go and do it, right? Like
I would want to. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, get a booth. Like come to Grand Rapids Comic-Con, get a booth. Like I'm sure. I mean, I really hope you get to do that because that's really cool. We'll come get ours signed again, and you can be really then like anxious about where a second signature goes.
Should I change it up?
Yeah. Should it be the same? Should it be different? What about?
Oh man, I'm sorry that Todd's bringing this struggle to your life.
It's full circle.
To make you feel better, though, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan has his name misspelled on his Eisner Award. And even like in crossovers, Donnie Cates spelled his name wrong in crossovers. And that might be like a joke, maybe, because, he was on Brian K. Vaughan was on a Jeopardy question and they spelled his name wrong. Like, how nuts is that you're in the comic book industry and you're big enough to be on Jeopardy and they spell your name wrong?
I think, I mean, most besides the image dudes of the early 90s, I think every single comic book professional who even cracks mainstream culture just a little bit, every time you do, like you hear them in interviews and stuff like, oh yeah, and then I was put right back in my place. Like I can see how small I am, you know, compared to like, you know, massive mainstream pop culture media. Like we are all low on the pecking order. So yeah,
but it's the coolest part of the pecking order.
Oh, for sure.
It's the coolest part, except
Well, I mean, honestly, like I went to. Motor City is like my hometown con, and I try to go every year. And in the same way that, like when I was learning to become a teacher, like the teachers that I learned from, not only was I going to some of those cons, especially the last handful of years, to meet those people and those creators that I respect and admire, but also interact with them and learn the kind of person that when those cons do come back and I get to be on the other side of the table that I want to be and don't want to be.
It's a good way to sit at the learning tree. Just get to experience it and be there. Yeah.
Because
I
I mean,
miss cons.
there's people that like, you know, and this is a bit of a cliche, but like there's the people who are brilliant and wonderful to everybody. Maybe it's because they're nature or whatever. And there's the people that you get to who are a bit prickly and maybe they're just having a bad day. But like, you know, as soon as you're that's going to be your one interaction with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or not. Like, that's what they're going to remember. And I think actually me being in the classroom is pretty good training for that too. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm having a bad day. I've got to be understanding because there's a child on the other side. And the same thing. If somebody wants to buy my book or doesn't want to buy my book, like, you're there, you're giving me a couple of minutes of your time. I'm going to give you all the respect and all the attention and all the one-on-one focus that you deserve. And that's definitely something I learned from going to cons and meeting creators. Yeah.
Those are the people I spent the most money with, because I always, even if you're having I did retail for a really long time. So it was the same thing when I was working cons. You turn it on and you're like, I'm in everything's cool mode. Let's go. I hate everything, but man, I'm excited to see you. So that's cool. Teaching makes the most sense. That's like retail dialed up to like 30 kids at a time, and I have to constantly just be okay with everything. Yeah, you're totally ready for cons. It's like
now. I mean, right? I'm going to be able to. I think I'm going to be able to sell, because right now, for the last 8 years, my job has been convincing 170 13 and 14-year-olds that ELA is not boring. That like verbs and stuff are fascinating.
Verbs are dope.
Hey, commas. You're going to have a great time with commas. 14.
The Oxford one's really cool. Let me tell you why.
Oh boy, do they hate that Oxford comma, my friends.
I've still lived this long in my life, and I don't really even know what the difference between the two are.
You don't have to. The Oxford comma should always be used, and I will go to bat.
Thank you.
Always.
You are not a journalist, and you are not a newspaper man from the 1800s. Use your Oxford comma.
Yep. Are you paying per letter? Let's go.
I mean, I'm always paying per letter.
On your broadsheet that you're gonna have some street urchin say heary and extra. No.
Right. My Facebook comment doesn't have enough characters for me to put this comma in. That's the only time. It's funny. It translates to Twitter. That's when I am okay with an Oxford comma not being there, assuming it's a long tweet. It's got to be like, that's got to be about 160 characters. So, okay, you can have that gone. That's the only time I'm not like, screw you, man.
We have somebody else.
Oxford all the way. Yeah. Yay.
Also, a fellow teacher to you has said, English is not being boring, trying history or government.
History's flashy. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
He can dress up as George Washington and walk into his class and put on a show.
Whoa. Everyone Oxford comma.
Let's go.
Apparently we just had to say Oxford comma and the world comes around.
Oh man, I really wish I would have foreseen this and had an Oxford comma intro ready.
Were you ready for the Oxford comma hot takes on your show tonight?
No, but that's Comic Burrito. The Burrito is really, half comics, half who knows what else. It's just packed in there.
That's where the burrito comes into play.
Yep. The burrito's a wild card. Speaking of wild card, how was the work with Justin the Birch on the book? Friend of the show.
I think one of my favorite experiences in putting this book together and going through the process, right? Like literally fanboying out every step of the way, right? It took a long time, and that's indie comics, but each step was such like a oh my god, I'm getting to see it happen, right? And it's getting a step closer to the real thing. And I think one of my favorite interactions, and I have to apologize every time I've told the story to Justin, because I think I broke his brain for a minute. Yes. But I was interacting with Justin, and we were emailing back and forth, and we were texting back and forth, and I was kind of hinting at what this thing that I wanted, right? Because not only do I want to be part of the process as part of the creative team, but I kind of want to be able to fanboy out at every step of the way if I can. And I'm hinting, and he took the bait, and he sends me a message. He's like, do you want to like FaceTime and watch me letter a page? And I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you for not making me say it. You know,
Right? That's amazing.
So I'm watching him letter a page or two, and it's amazing. And he's got, you know, he's got his screen up, and he's got his program, and he's precise and fast at the same time. And he's putting in word balloons, and he's just like fast as thought, fast as lightning, choosing the angle of the tail. Right? He's like dropping in like this 45-degree twist, and he knows exactly where it goes and exactly the thing. And then I did that horrible thing, like that you're not supposed to do to like a batter in baseball. Like, you don't think about the swing. And I'm like, Justin, how did you know that was like 45 degrees? And you see, like, because I can see his face, and he stops, and he's like, what? And he's like, I don't know. Oh no! And like, because you could see him,
you gave him the yips.
He's like, I'm not sure. And then like the next one, it took him longer because he's thinking about it. I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
You've broken Justin the Birch Birch.
He's a really, really talented and prolific writer or letterer, and I think I just broke him. And then he was fine, but I was like, I'm gonna go now, because I don't want to be responsible for what I think I just did. And I'm really, really sorry, and thank you for this opportunity, and goodbye. And I the meeting.
Amazing, giving Justin Birch the yips. I love it. That's amazing. That explains he hasn't lettered a book since, which is a lot. He's lettered. I know. He's lettered half of the books on the market.
Which is funny because Parallels has actually made it onto one of our golden burrito award slides because Justin got our letterer of the year.
Yeah, he won golden. Yeah. Got to put any source point from there onto there. I mean, come on. So everyone, I'm gonna hawk this again right before once again, and then once before you go. There's a link in the description. $6.99. You can get 10% off if you use the code. But oh my goodness, 64 pages. It's dense. It's good. You've spent a lot more for a lot less. Do it.
And use Burrito all caps.
Yeah.
If you do it from SourcePoint
or follow
Press.
the link. Check that out. It's fantastic. So you talked about not sure where this is going to go, and maybe it's a thing or blah, blah. Assuming it goes forward, and you have, let's say you have your choice in this theoretical, you're altered. Somebody's talking to you in the back of your head, and you're like, look at what could be. What would be your altered timeline of what character from the big two or another property would be that one that would be the most tempting to you? What would you like to write the most for?
Okay. So as a kid, I was a Batman guy. The moment after that, it was all Neil Gaiman, Sandman universe all day, every day. Like, as a 12-year-old, I was reading Sandman Mystery Theater, which is not for 12-year-olds.
No, it's not. But
I was like I was. Oh God. I am a 50-50 down the middle, split in half personality on a dozen different things, right? Like, I am the oh my God, that's beautiful. I am the high-minded, follow this author and this author reader. And at the same time, I'm digging for cheap keys and completing runs and collecting, right? I am watching Predator one night in, like, the late 80s. And I am watching my second favorite movie, All the President's Men, at 11 years old. The night.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous, right? So,
best series.
Would I love to play in the Sandman universe? Of course I would. Would I ever be brave enough to do it? No, I would not. No. You know what? Okay. If I got to do, I would, what I would want to do? I would want to do, and this is like the 90s kid in me too. I would want to do a Wolverine one shot.
That'll make Todd's dad happy.
Away from the team. Like, we're talking the Canadian wilderness thing where he, the books where he, like, goes into the bar. And he goes into the bar and he runs into the local town problem, right? And he doesn't pop his claws until like 2/3 of the way through the book. And
he has to fight somebody in the bar too before it starts. Who doesn't know who they're fighting?
You don't want to fight me, Bob, but like you push the. I would love one of those. Oh God, awesome. Yes, I would eat that up.
Yeah, classic. I'll read it. That's just a good Wolverine story. He's got his like plaid. Red and black checkered shirt with the fur-lined leather jacket, and maybe like a duster cap or something something that's covering his face. Yep, got the boots, blue jeans.
He tracks an animal at one point. He tracks the blood of humans at another point. He definitely smells something somewhere, and that leads him to whatever. Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe he fights a bear. Might fight a bear, might fight a cougar, fight tiger. Yeah, because the guy's saber teeth. It's sure. I mean, it's X-Men universe. Saber-tooth tiger. I
mean, Canada.
Saber-tooth versus Wolverine. That sounds like that's a pretty big stretch. I don't know if they'd ever do anything like that. But
well, and you mentioned Predator. I mean, I'm pretty sure Predator's Marvel here soon, so that could even be something.
Right.
Wolverine versus Predator would be
versus Alien.
Hella tight. I'm all for it.
That was my best pal lived next door for like 3 straight years. Was like the weekend sleepover thing, and the routine was a trip to Blockbuster.
Nice.
Okay. And we had to always get 2 movies because we wanted to get something that scared us, but we were also scaredy cats, so you had to have a palate cleanser.
Yes, right? So you can sleep.
Watch The Shining, or you'd watch Pet Sematary. There's a Stephen King thing again.
There it is.
And then you would watch Predator afterwards, just to like, if as soon as Arnold started blowing stuff up, then you were like, you could go to bed, and you didn't, because you weren't scared that twisted sister, which is what we called the flashback sister from Pet Sematary, would not come out and get me in the middle of the night.
I thought you were listening to Twisted Sister.
No,
as a palate cleanser.
Do you know what I'm talking about in the first Pet Sematary movie, like the flashbacks, the wife's sister?
Yep.
She was like,
she's all actually twisted. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, literally could not look at the screen.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get that. I think Sam King is going to enjoy this reference. So will Steve. They're both very big horror guys. Oh man, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as a palate cleanser after scary movies.
Keep circling back to Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yep, it is honestly what I did. We're vying. It's a reference to try to get a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater
comic book
board game
from
Deep Water Games, from Oxeye, from Source Point. Yeah, who is Tony Hawk? Yeah.
Do you have a favorite horror movie though?
Yeah, you're a Stephen King guy. You listed off a couple good ones, pretty decent ones.
So, as a kid, I liked the idea of it more than I liked it. So, I would like the pre-cable in my house. We had Channel 20 and Channel 50 down here in Southeast Michigan, and you had Shocktober.
Shocktober
was like, they'd run Friday the 13th, 1, 2, 3, 4 nights in a row, blah, 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 blah. Nice. And I would always try. Man, I wasn't good at it. The Shining, Pet Sematary, Creep Show. So again, all Stephen King stuff. Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you this: the last horror movie, scary movie that I saw in theaters was Blair Witch in like '99, and that was like because after that I'm kind of an adult and I'm like, this is scary enough. I don't need to do this, and I didn't do that. So I was like, I did do a palate cleanser too. I come home from Blair Witch, and this was for people younger. Like this is the early stages of the internet, and that Blair Witch thing, like people bought it for a while. Like there were websites,
Oh yeah.
but half the websites were like, yeah, this is real found footage, and then half the websites were like, well, we don't really know. And it was just enough of confusion out there that people were like weeks into the release were like, I think this might be real. And I got home that night and I watched Eddie Murphy Raw and Eddie Murphy Delirious back to back to cleanse the palate.
Amazing palate cleansers.
Just to be able to fall asleep because awesome. I was going to be up against a wall in a cellar someplace and a witch was going to get me. But like, honestly, my horror experiences outside of, watching, God, we watched a lot of Tales from the Crypt, was basically much more Stephen King books. Like I started reading way too young. I read Eyes of the Dragon first, which is very mild, right?
Yep.
And I read that at 12, and then I read it at 12, and it broke my
Those
brain.
are different.
They're
yeah.
very different. And half the book, they're 12. And I didn't sleep well for like 6 months. Now I'm a rereader. And, in the couple of years since then, I read it like 2 more times. But man, did I plot it out. Like you get to scene X, and I only read that during the daytime because it would just mess me up. God, I remember I saved Salem's Lot and I saved Pet Cemetery because I knew they were going to break me, and they did. Mm-hmm. But yeah, awesome. I think I did that thing. Less horror movies and much more Stephen King books that would mess with me the same way that horror messes with a lot of people film wise.
That's cool. I was in 5th grade, I think, when I read OG Dracula. And that was, so I was 10 when I read Dracula for the first time. And that was when I realized my dad's here. So this is a fun story, but I wasn't allowed to watch, which is, I mean, it's reasonable. I was 10 and I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 or R-rated movies or anything like that. However, the library was out there. I was reading like James Bond books when I was 12 and reading like Stephen King stuff. And I'm like, I was getting a lot of deep cuts that I wouldn't have otherwise because I didn't have movies as an option to like have these more adult themed stories in my life. But yeah, it's also a young age to have some of these adult themed stories in your life where you're like, I looking back, I'm like, I did not have the frame of mind to be able to separate my imagination from what was going on. And yeah, I was worried about a lot of things.
So I had such like the visual, the rationalization to be able to convince yourself at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep that anything is real, right? The close my eyes and I open them and there will be somebody in the doorway. As illogical as that was, right? Like I'm self-aware enough at 12, 13, 14 to go, it's not true, but it's 100% true at 2 a.m. So my 2 tricks, one which got me into trouble eventually was I would I was too old to go get mommy and daddy, but I was also too scared not to. So I would go to the bathroom very loudly, like ooh, I dropped the toilet lid really loud, just hoping somebody would come and check on me, right? Like, are you okay? No, I'm not. But once that ran out as an option, this is the dumbest, most brilliant thing I've ever done.
I hope it's similar to what I did because I also have something I did.
So I'm laying there in bed night after night, not being able to sleep because of what I'm putting in my head and then letting my mind run away with itself.
Yep.
And I'm having this nightly battle of, what you're feeling and what you think is real is completely illogical, and yet that's not enough to overcome the fear, right? Because it's 100% real and 100% not real at the same time.
Yep.
So the way I broke the cycle was I go, well, if I'm going to be this irrational, if I'm going to truly believe that there's something under the bed, something that's going to step around the corner and be in the doorway right now, okay? Well, if I'm going to be that illogical and that irrational, then I can just go all the way. And I looked around my room, and there were 3 posters on my wall. There was a McFarlane Spider-Man. There was a Jim Lee Wolverine. And there was a Detroit Pistons, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Bad Boys poster.
Amazing. What a trio.
I know.
The bad boys are going to
Amazing.
protect you.
Yeah.
If Pennywise can be outside my door,
Mhm.
Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Bill Lambier can be real, and they will come down to the posters and protect me. And
Of course.
I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
Slept like a baby
Amazing.
because I had
Bill and Beer would probably just make fun of you, though.
Yeah.
I had Snick, and then I had like the two biggest backsides in the NBA that can just like box out anybody.
Yep, they just push them out. Yeah, they don't use their hands. They just box them out. I used yarn and tied, because I thankfully had to pull a push door. So I yarned up my doorknob and then tied it to my bedpost for like a good 6 months. I was doing that so that there would at least be a noise or something that would happen. But it was enough tension where like you'd pull it and then it would like kind of snap back if you didn't know it was there. So I was like giving myself I was like lightly booby trapping my doors and my windows and stuff, so that, because I didn't think that my brain was, it can only happen when I'm asleep. The Freddy Krueger and all those things. While I'm conscious, it's not happening. It's happening while I'm unconscious. So I set up a bunch of things that would make me conscious if things got into the room. Nice. And then I started sleeping just fine until I just was sleeping fine.
I don't believe in ghosts. I am totally afraid of ghosts. Right? I tell this to students all the time. Like good. One of the things we do this thing every day before class. We do this prompt, and it's a community builder. It might get you thinking about something, but it just gets your brain. You know, there's a superhero question. There's a dream that haunts you question. There's a whatever question, and we do this superstition one at the beginning of the year, and like I look at them and I say, look, like salt over your shoulder, spilled milk, walk under a black cat, whatever. Like, I don't believe in any of that. It's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I've never walked under a ladder. I've never opened an umbrella. I see a black cat, I go the other way because I don't believe it, but I'm not going to mess with it. And
but why chance it?
I do not believe in ghosts 1 ounce. I can look at a house and go, that place is haunted. I'm not going in it.
Amazing.
There was
we're all future ghosts.
My mom's family is from Indiana, and there was this lady, Aunt Helen. We would go down to Aunt Helen's house, and Aunt Helen was ancient, and her mother was over 100, and they lived in this creepy, super old house, like one of the houses with like the scary furnace in the basement and the dirt floor, and the ventilation systems, like the big. Do I have any X-Files guys? Are you guys X-Files guys?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I want to believe, man.
Adrian Toomes, you know how you can go through the things? Okay, so the vent sides, like the big vent things.
Yep. And, nice. Perfect.
I remember we were down there. I was reading what was I reading? Stephen King at the time. I was reading Misery, which is obviously not supernatural and but tense and whatever. And I'm reading Misery, and I'm in a room. And you've got the giant vent thing on the floor. And then I look over in the corner and there are 2 doors. One of them is a closet door and it won't close. That's never good. And the other one is, and my mind just breaks. It's like a little door. And I had recently, and I flashed back to a few years before, the first Twilight Zone reboot. Like the one in the 80s or the 90s, and it was in color, and there was it was, you know, whatever the story was, it was kind of the cliche. The girl's car breaks down, she goes to the house, there's a weird old guy there, but like he's got these little doors, don't go in the little doors because there's little gremlin guys coming there and eat your face off. And there was a little door in this room, and it was like an old bed with like 2.5 feet of space underneath there. Anybody could be down there. That was probably the worst night of sleep of my life. That house is probably haunted.
Amazing. Sounds amazing to me.
Was it in Erie, Indiana?
Hey,
it was not.
Wah, wah, wah. Pun alert. I love it. It's so good. Good job, Cole. I'm proud of you.
I really liked the show Erie, Indiana as a kid.
I'm going to go pee real quick because I've had a whole water bottle.
Proud of you.
Pee break.
Are there any comics that you are currently reading right now?
I'm doing a little rereading right now. My jam over the last couple of months is I am going back through and reading all of my Garth Ennis war comics because nobody does that better than him. I think he did the best run of Punisher that has ever existed. And there's just something about his war comics that are just I can just read them over and over again. So I've just read Battlefields, and I read Sarah, which is so freaking good. And then all 4 volumes of War Stories I just went through, and what I just do, Screaming Eagles, and I'm going through the stack.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you knew this, but during like the start of the pandemic, TKO did this thing where if you buy your books from us, tell us your local comic book shop's name, and we'll donate 50% of the profits to those local shops. So I know like all 3 of us got a bunch of them, and I know Sarah was one of, like, both Todd and I think said like this is probably the best book they have to offer, and we're not even war fans.
There is something about that one. Like that might be Apex Mountain for him and his War Stories. There's just it's beautifully done. It's well crafted. I love that story. Sourcepoint was doing the same thing, which is another thing that I respected the hell out of them about. Like unbelievable during the pandemic. Here you've got small business supporting small business, right? Small press who knows what happens to small press comics in those first few months. Especially when Diamond gets shut down, and they're doing that exact same thing where, donating to the shops, and portion of your order goes straight back to that shop. All you got to do is drop the name, and I thought that was amazing, so cool.
Yeah, I remember the 3 that we were talking about the most were TKO, SourcePoint Press, and Black Mask. Also, all had those same deals, which was awesome. And yeah, even then too, for Free Comic Book Day, SourcePoint Press had the Free Comic Book Week online, and like just all you have to do is pay for shipping. Where it was just like you could get so many books if you really wanted to from them.
And that's another thing where I'm going to sing their praises, because like that's that family thing again, right? And I mean, yes, it's a business model, but it's also like it started out of love for this medium. And it's continued, right? I mean, the story they're putting out the stories that they want to put out. They're doing business the way they want to do business, and like just that wherewithal that not only is up here, but it comes from their heart too, to understand the symbiotic relationship between brick and mortar and them, and it's great. It was so cool to see those efforts, especially at the those first few months when we just didn't know what this was going to look like, and that's something that says something about indie comics to me, right? I mean, I am never going to throw shade at Marvel or DC because that's what I grew up with, but like, if you're looking at the pyramid, as big as they are just the tiny piece at the top. Like most comics that exist in the world are indie or self-published, and that's the biggest part of the iceberg, right? It's all below the surface, and the amount of time, sweat, blood, and tears that go into that is kind of massive, and SourcePoint is doing it right.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I know. So I actually got into SourcePoint because our shop that all 3 of us go to, their 1-year anniversary, they had like the whole SourcePoint gang showed up, like, and they were just selling books, signing them, talking to people. Like, it was awesome. Like, I mean, I think to this day, I mean, this year was their 5th anniversary, and they did not have one because of obvious reasons. But this is the first year that SourcePoint didn't come, because they've still sent like, a few people here and there on every one of their things, which is, awesome to see. I mean, we are in Michigan and they are, but still they live on the other side of the state and have to bring and drive people over here. So it's always awesome how they do that with the shops. I mean, our shop has been pretty good about getting on SourcePoint pretty much immediately. So I think they just built up a good relationship, because they've only been open for, I think, 5 years, our shop.
Right.
But I know that Dan from here had mentioned, have you read Day 185?
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I know that. He said it's. Yeah, I know that Tony, I'm pretty sure, was actually at our shop one of the years for that, pitching that comic during one of their like anniversaries. I've honestly never read any Garth Ennis like war stuff besides Sarah. That's the only book that I've read of his is Sarah. I did read, I don't know if you read this. It came out from Aftershock. It was called Jimmy's Bastards.
Is that a Garth book?
I'm 95% sure it is.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's Garth Ennis. So the idea is James Bond. Jimmy is James Bond.
Yeah.
And all of his children that he has like had throughout these years from all of these women that he just has these one night stands with, like, form this team against him.
Whoa.
It's pretty good. It was one of the first Aftershock books I ever got into. So yeah. And
wow.
Welcome, Chaos. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, I want to say it's only like, I mean, I guess I could just look at CLZ. I think it's like 8-ish issues, maybe. I mean, it was one of the earlier runs of Aftershock when they didn't really have. I mean, because that was the thing they got. Yeah, it looks like it's 9 issues, so
okay,
nothing too crazy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's kind of, I guess he puts it more of like Archer. But yeah, I mean, I think the pitch was this is James Bond and all the kids that he has throughout the years decide to go against him and form this like evil cult.
Well, there's a similar premise in All New Wolverine, right? Where I love that story just as a premise because it's like when you take, you know, everybody talks about the problem of having super long continuity, right? Where something just goes on and on and on, and like, you know, how many people has Wolverine killed, right? How many people has you know, how many women has James Bond, right? Like all that's in, because it goes on decade after decade after decade. And then like I love that solution of what a great story when you just go, well, now I've got, if we put all of that against him, it's like hundreds against one. I love that. That's a great story idea, actually.
Yeah.
We were going into Garth Ennis and how I mentioned that both of us love Sarah because he was like, I'm reading all of Garth Ennis's war books, and I was hoping that he was not going to say Sarah, so I could be like, have you checked out Sarah yet?
Oh God, it's so good.
It's amazing, and I'm not a war story guy. That is not one of my genres. I don't not like it, but it's not anything I ever really seek out. And my goodness, that's my favorite TKO book.
I think my gateway was Garth Ennis. Like I think that's and like he's one of those dudes who he like has become a curator. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll put out stuff and he'll turn you the same way that like Brubaker turns you on to noir films and like and pulp authors and stuff like that. Like like Garth Ennis is a fan of the stuff that was like put out in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and whatever, and like curates it and you know, that kind of thing. So that I think he was definitely my gateway to that. But that's not even where I discovered him. I mean, I was Preacher first. And then his Punisher run is, God, there's nothing better than Old Man Frank. It's so good.
Man, I love Preacher. Preacher's so good. It's amazing. And Cole's read that, right? We've talked about it.
I read the first 3 trades.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know why I stopped. I probably should just get back into it. It's one of the hard thing with Preacher is that while it's really good, like some of that, like when you're just continuously doing it's a very hard continuous binge book for me because it just is like, you're not going to finish a trade in a day unless you're putting a few hours into it, more likely. Not that that's like a bad thing, but it just, with how much we read for the show and other stuff, it just kind of got more of a chore.
I don't think I didn't find Garth through Preacher. I found Garth through Neil because John Constantine's in that first trade of Sandman. Yeah. And then I go out and seek out Hellblazer, and the best Hellblazer trades are the Garth trades in that, like the first 100 issues or whatever. Oh my God.
I think we just became best. I'm pretty sure we just became best friends. If you also happen to really like Green Lantern, we may have the same favorite things.
I might. I'm not saying I do. But
I do.
Have a Green Lantern #1 in pretty crappy condition downstairs in my long boxes. That might just be something that's true.
Which Green Lantern #1?
Silver Age Green Lantern number. So after the showcase, how many showcase appearances? 2 or 3 before he got his own book? The one that doesn't have the #1 on the, it's not numbered. So
but you have the Silver Age #1.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I mean, Todd is the first Guy Gardner, which is the obvious best Green Lantern. So I think he's winning overall. I'm just making everyone upset. Sorry.
Best Green Lantern, best Ginger Green Lantern, best bowl cut Green Lantern. Come on.
Thank you for being on my team. Maybe I'm not sure if you're joking or not, but
Kyle is the best Lantern. Easy peasy. It's not a question. Kyle Rayner. Everybody else is second fiddle.
I like it when, because, you know, superhero comics have, and they've been struggling with this for a few decades now, of the, they stopped regenerating their generations of, like, a new generation of kids discover or whatever. But one of the last times that I was really aware of that was those kids who grew up and basically because of cartoons and because of DC Super Friends toys and stuff like that, where Kyle was their Green Lantern, right? And it's not Hal, it's like Kyle was their Green Lantern, like #1. They don't, who are these other guys, right?
Yeah, mine's from the comics. I don't really get Kyle from anything else. It was just volume 3. That was my Green Lantern that I read, and Hal was an asshole during that volume and becoming like Parallax and doing all that stuff. Hal Jordan wasn't like a guy to latch onto during that run, whereas Kyle Rayner was a way more relatable. He was like just a good guy. He wasn't a dickhead who's like being Hal. And that was it for me. And then since then, and his suit was different. It is really cool suit.
He has a mask.
And he has a mask. Yeah.
So here's the real true question to see if you guys are separated at birth. What are your stands on if a hot dog is considered a sandwich?
I am a gigantic fan of John Hodgman. And that means that a hot dog is not a sandwich because Judge John Hodgman said it wasn't. And
Hilarious.
Even though the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which he has gotten in fights with, says that it is, a hot dog is not a sandwich just because minor television and
Hilarious.
John Hodgman says it.
John Hodgman. Amazing. What a reason. I love it. And my caveat is it is a sandwich, but it's an open face sandwich.
Hey,
it is not
it's delicious. I don't care.
Right, but that's where it's different. It's an open face sandwich because it doesn't fully close. There's stuff on top, and you never really like mush it around and like eat it like a sandwich. It's open face. That's all.
Yeah,
but it's a hot dog.
It's its own thing. Give it its own category. Come on, it's a hot dog.
Hamburger's a sandwich, but I don't call it a sandwich.
No,
call it a hamburger.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. Give me a sandwich. Someone gives you a hamburger.
I'm gonna start just giving people hot dogs.
That'd be cool. I mean, but the thing is, I'd be like, this is fine. I'd be like, it's not exactly what I meant, but all right. You got spicy
Make me a sandwich. Hope you enjoy hot dogs.
Yeah.
This one's literally just got mustard on it.
All right, that's fine with me. Mustard is like my bare minimum for like I couldn't just do ketchup. Just a ketchup one would be like. But just mustard, let's go. That's fine with me.
There was a stand. So when the Detroit Pistons played at the Palace of Auburn Hills from 1989 to a couple of years ago, there was a stand that sold fancy hot dogs. We're talking about big old hot dogs, and there was like 8 of them on the menu, and they were named after NBA cities. So there was like a Memphis, there was a Detroit, there was a Chicago, with the varying styles of those cities, right? You know, this one had coleslaw on it, that one had, you know, the tomato slices and whatever, and this one had, obviously, the Detroit one was the Coney one, and on and on and on. And me and my buddy Dougie would not eat the day before a game and go and get like 2 or 3 of those things with the big, basket of chips,
Nice.
just because. So good. What a great sandwich. It's not a sandwich.
Oh, I love, man, it's definitely the first John Hodgman reference we've had on here.
It might be
I
the
love
last.
John Hodgman. I love John Hodgman. He's just never come up. That's great.
Well, I got a shout out on his Instagram because I was at Greenfield Village, and there's the Webster home, and because he was like in this fight with Merriam-Webster over the definition of a hot dog as a sandwich, and I like took pictures of the first dictionary and said like, man, they've got it in for you, buddy, but here it is. Here's where it all began. And he was like,
Amazing.
well, this is great.
I've actually went to Greenfield Village on a field trip when I was a
Nice,
kid.
yeah.
So that is
That's
cool.
where it begins,
Cool
man.
random
Yeah.
reference.
It's like one of my happy places. I like that. And let's talk about Michigan. Greenfield Village and Mackinac Island are like my 2 favorite places on earth.
Yeah, Mackinac Island. Such a classic. What's your
Oh,
favorite
cool.
thing? What is the thing on Mackinac Island that you ingest is your favorite?
The last handful of times that we've gone, my son was old enough, and we go into the middle of the island, and we're not talking about just like the road down the middle. We go into the middle of the middle, like the off the trails, and find, we don't go to Skull, we don't go to, what is it called, Skull Cave or whatever it's called. We go to the other little caves, and we go to Crack in the Island, and there's this weird, creepy open meadow that's called the Soldiers Burial Meadow, and the old tree and the kiln and all these weird off things, and then you get lost and you end up on the golf course, and rich people yell at you, and as you're driving your bike across their golf game, and stuff like that happens. But the middle of the island, like and there's no, it doesn't matter how busy it is down on Main Street, there's nobody there. And you find this little rock formation, and you end up at Sugarloaf, and you end up at Crack in the Island, you end up at Old Man's Cave. It's really, really cool. It's my
Neat.
favorite.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I want fudge now.
They got a lot of it up there.
Yeah, they do.
They do. But which one is the best? I don't know. Some people have opinions on that.
Some people do. I just eat whatever fudge I see first, really. So we have a thing on our show where we have to show that we're wearing pants.
Oh man, I guess I could just do this.
Here are my pants. Hey, look at you. Pants.
Here, this is what I'm going to show you, because I can't stand up because of the.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You have
I
a.
was wearing.
There you go.
This is
Look
my
at that.
robot leg for the next
See?
6 weeks, so that my leg does not fall off after my surgery on my left knee.
We will count that as a pants check.
Yep.
Knee braces count.
So you are now in the same category as Scott Snyder for people that have done a pants check with us
Yep.
on our show.
It's true.
But-
Still weird. Still weird. That's a thing.
Also, guys, we have this comic. If you've been here and have not said anything in the chat, make sure you do, because we're probably going to give it away in a few minutes here.
I think we should get the wheel. Let's get the wheel up. Give people. He does some prose work, and he's written a couple comics too.
Yeah, couple.
Yeah.
So yeah, also if you're here and you do not see your name on here, shout at me.
My goodness. Look at all those people.
Did you guys
I don't
read
know why we
Witches?
do this. My dad's just gonna win. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Which
you
is-
like this
which is bad
picture
at-
too that we got there?
Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Parallels in the middle. Yeah. I love me some witches. That's one of Nick's favorite books. Who's not here? Which I will say, Nick said to let
Oh, yeah.
Jason know. This is a text that he sent. Let Jason know I loved his book, and the idea that it's never too late to be the best you can be is an idea I love dearly. That's
Oh,
from our
good.
missing burrito.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, Whack got in there. Someone, first person to put a number in, will shuffle it that many times.
Yeah.
And this is for a signed copy of Parallel. Which also, you should start putting an S at the end of Parallel when you sign it. and make it parallels.
Start confusing people.
Uh-huh.
Oh man. Well, Flash Ray said 4, so thankfully that one's
That's the
first
first.
because the next one was this.
That's
All
a
right,
lot.
so-
That's a lot of numbers.
Thank you, Andrew. I should have put parameters on, but thank you for being reasonable.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Here we go. It's just gonna be my dad again.
If Vern wins, I'm just gonna like yell.
Oh, it's going to Tyler, and then it can get
Yeah.
to Whack because he's in Australia. Congratulations, Whack! Yay, Lee! Awesome. Or we'll see how much it costs for SourcePoint just to send you one, and then we'll have Jason just sign digital, and we'll get it to you.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll figure that out. We should have said US only, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Lee. You deserve it. And it's a good book, so he won't destroy it.
Yeah. But here, I think we have the most important question that we're gonna bring to you
Easy.
all night.
Hardest hitting. This is our journalism coming out. Yeah.
Let's go.
If you were to make the perfect burrito, what are the ingredients that you're going to be putting in it?
Okay. So I don't, this is from my youth, so I'm not going to be able to recreate this perfectly, but there was a place in Plymouth, Michigan when I was growing up called Holly by Golly's. Okay. And this place was the best. It had the popcorn machine. So like, you know, like the place where you've got the bowl of popcorn at your table before you even eat anything, right? It had a back corner with like 3 stand-up arcade machines, including Galaga and my favorite of the 3, Elevator Action.
Ooh.
Okay. And then they had the giant projection screen with like the 3-color projector at the bottom, and they always showed VH1. And so it was like nothing but, it was like back to back. The only 2 videos I ever remember
Behind the music.
always remember was George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You, where he's like in the den and the animals are going like that. And then back to back, it was always Paul Simon, You Can Call Me Al with Chevy Chase. And just like those apparently over and over again. I'm sure that's not how it went. But anyway, at High by Golly's.
Amazing.
The day I graduated from the kids menu, right? When I graduated up from chicken tenders or whatever, I went straight to their wet burrito. And from the day that I got it to the day they went out of business, it was like the Holly by Golly's wet burrito. Amazing. And now, if I'm making it back then, it's beef. If I'm making it now, I've been off red meat for a few years, so it's grilled chicken. But I think in the wet burrito, I need a lot of meat.
And this is perfect though, because
cheese.
You would still have red meat if you could, correct?
Dude, I miss a Reuben every single day.
So this is your perfect burrito. So it's still got beef in it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is like maybe deathbad burrito, right?
Exactly.
So
like no one's
you
worried
get
about
one
red
final
meat.
burrito.
I think then I'm gonna load it with stuff I want right now. All right. I'm doing
steak.
Beef, I'm doing chicken. I'm doing a little bit of refried beans, but I'm doing a lot of Spanish rice. I'm doing grilled caramelized onions. I'm doing raw white onions. I'm doing a load of cilantro.
Ooh.
Oh God, what else is there? There's some diced tomatoes in there.
Any beans in there? Besides refried, you got white or pinto or black or pinto?
I'm doing a little refried. I'm doing a little pinto.
Nice.
You know what? I'm doing some black beans too.
Nice.
Protein.
Yeah, I think cheese inside. I think cheese on top.
Ooh.
Okay. For sure, I need that melted cheese across the top.
I say queso.
The wet burrito's got that red sauce, but I need the white sauce too.
Nice.
It's gonna be
queso
a mess.
blanco.
It's going to be a mess, and it's going to turn into closer to a stew.
Nice.
Shovel it into my mouth. We should not be doing this. What's going to happen is when we're done, I'm going to go eat, and that's not good because I can't move these days with my leg, and I am.
Oh no.
I am I am absorbing calories and they're not going.
Oh, that you're not expending? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I do like the idea of a messy deathbed meal. Like it's like I'm not going to be here to clean it up. Let's do this. It's like if it's a last meal, I'm just going to eat this with my hands, and it's going to be everywhere.
I'm glad you actually asked me that question out of that context because my psychosis is so intense. So like I was telling you about those prompts that like I asked the kids and stuff, and there's this one that's a pretty heavy one, and it's about like if you knew the time and place of your death, would you want to know? Or like, what would you do if you had a week left to live, or that kind of thing? And my truthful answer is I'm curling up in a ball and feeling sorry for myself and not enjoying the last minutes at all. So like, if you had asked me like what my last meal was going to be, I'm like, I'm not eating. I'm just going to sit here and pout that it's over and just ruin it. Like I would not enjoy that last meal. Now you tell me
you become a nihilist all of a sudden.
But I would just be like, no, sorry. No, not, I'm too sad. I'm too depressed that this is all going to be over. So I'm not eating. Forget it.
No.
Not going to enjoy it anyway.
Andrew is asking when it became a deathbed burrito. I just feel like we've hit a few people that have like been like, well, if I'm eating a burrito right now, this is what it's going to be.
Like,
and like, you know, when you say perfect burrito, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, you do whatever you think.
You're not worrying about health. With
Yeah.
this burrito,
it needs to be so big that I know if I eat it all, it's going to hurt by the end. I think it needs to be the perfect mix of like, there's points where you can pick it up, there's points where you got to cut it, and there's points where you got to hit a shovel. And at various phases of the consumption of it is hands, knife and fork, and a shovel. I think that's really what's important.
I'm picturing you walking into Chipotle with like a shovel and ordering a burrito.
I only bring I actually bring a spade, not a shovel.
Yeah.
Boys, there may be precedent of more than one chain established restaurant where I may have gained a reputation of, no, you just can't do it that way. I'm not saying that at BD's Mongolian Barbecue, they changed their multi-bowl policy to one bowl policy because of me, but I do remember pushing the limit like in the 90s way too much and them saying, no, I'm sorry, you've got to pay for a second bowl. It's not one bowl just because you can, and then finding a way to stack it higher, whatever. And then Mod Pizza. Mod Pizza, the dude on the oven gets so pissed at me every time because the person up front technically can't say no to you. And when I'm piling that chicken on, I'm like, no, you can put some more on and you know how you just did the 2 fists of feta? I think I need you to make it 4 fists of feta. And what happens is it turns into a triangle, into a pyramid, and it doesn't cook right. And the guy gets really angry.
Sir, you put a rotisserie chicken on top of your pizza.
Our fire brick oven does not accommodate the size and girth of your pizza, sir.
Yes, we need to put. They've structural engineers have to come in to help their oven out for after your orders.
Oh God,
I love it. That's amazing. Four Fists of Feta is one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies too.
It's actually the name of my straight edge punk band.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I think he wears a poncho in that one, doesn't he? Wear a poncho?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's the poncho one.
Oh, do they ever say this to you, sir? This is a fire hazard.
Sir, this is a fire. It's so much, sir. Is this a Wendy? This is a Wendy's.
This is no joke. This was said. This is a direct quote from Ahmad Pizza. It's gonna get so soggy on the bottom, it's not gonna be worth it. I'm right here.
But is it worth it?
It's fine.
I'm just eating the toppings with a fork. The pizza's.
I brought my own
just there
shovel.
to be a
We're
pizza.
good.
Sir, oven, sir. I have my spade.
We're fine.
I am prepared. You do your job. I'll do mine.
Yeah, I got a hot plate with me, so I'm going to keep the bottom cooking while I eat down into the pizza. I like, people are like, do you go crust first? Do you go knife and fork? And you're like, no, I work from the top down on a pizza. It's a whole nother dimension.
It's a little bit of archaeology. You get
Yeah.
down to about 20 BC, and you're like, oh look, that's where the spinach is. Oh, look
Oh,
at
that's
that.
right. I did put a veggie in here. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
healthy, right?
That cancels out the whole rotisserie chicken and the fistful of feta. A thin layer of spinach.
Uh-huh.
That's what
I
I've
do
read.
love spinach on a pizza though.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's great with a balsamic glaze and like give me like the feta and the chicken and all of that. I'm like Mediterranean style on a pizza. Super into it.
We are talking the same language.
Man, we're not too far away. We should just meet in the middle and eat pizza and like talk Sandman.
Done. So
But-
I got to meet Neil twice. And the first time was quite literally magic. It was at the weirdest. Oh God, I can't. It was called Penguicon 2.0. It was in Novi, Michigan. He came. It was like an open source thing because his son, was like working for Linux or something at the time. This is like back in like 2006, 2008, something like that. And I was teaching fourth graders at the time. And one of our traditions in my fourth grade classroom for 13 years was end of the year, get done with what we got to get done. And we would listen to Coraline on CD, read by Neil by candlelight in the classroom, which was just, very moody and very perfect. And my kids had written him letters and he had gotten them and he like knew who I was. And here we go. Yeah, this is bad. This is bad film for a second, but
Neil Gaiman's on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, Neil's here. See that?
And that's how we sneak Neil into our show.
He signed.
Oh,
that
that's
for kids in the
amazing.
Classroom and I
I
think
love it.
one of his kids was like a fourth grader at the time, and we talked literacy and we talked reading, and he did readings there. It was amazing, and he may have signed a copy of Sandman #1 for me.
Well, now don't meet Todd because now he's gonna just
I'll
hire
swap
somebody
it with
to,
mine
like-
though, because I'm not that mean. I still
Yeah.
leave him as Sandman #1. Whoop! It's just why is it Doug Dual Gas? Why is it? That's a weird. Whatever. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
really
he was
cool.
really cool, and in fact, he's
Makes me happy to hear.
he gave me, and this was long before. This was even before I was like writing plays and skits. So I mean, and yet he told me something when I was like, we were in this tiny little conference room, and I was having like this one-on-one conversation with him, and he gave me the piece of advice. And I know he's done this in a bunch of different public speaking engagements and stuff like that, but he gave me the one piece of advice that really sticks with me. And like when anybody else asks, right, like how do you do it? How do you start? Like how do you make a comic? How do you make your dream come true? And something that Neil has said to me, it'll never go away. And it sounds trite when you hear it, but he's how do you write a comic? Is you write a comic. How do you do it? Well, you do it. And he went on to explain, like, it's always easier to do nothing than something, right? And the hard part is the getting started. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be brilliant. But if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. I can't, he can't guarantee you. I can't guarantee you that what you're going to create is going to get published by SourcePoint Press. I can't, guarantee that what you're going to create is going to connect to people or whatever. But like, I can absolutely guarantee you that if you don't follow your dream, nothing will happen. And taking that first step, is the big thing. And then you can start to figure out things from there. But like, if you just sit there and do what I did for almost 2 decades and just go, there's always tomorrow, I can't guarantee you that. And I can guarantee you that nothing will happen until you do it.
Love it.
Are you doing anything else? Are you working on anything else currently?
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything, I hear you won't make it.
Neil told me.
It's Neil Gaiman, Jason Douglas. It's the Office thing. It's your quote.
I've got another book ready to go. I've got 4 issues plotted out. The research is done. The character bios are done. The whole first issue is scripted out. It's a post-World War II small Michigan town thing, 1946.
Hey.
Very much inspired by my late grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and some of the things that she dealt with. But because I am such a fanboy, we've got a superhero twist going on in it too.
Nice.
It's about a 15-year-old girl named Jane who in 1942, when her father goes down over Europe in a B-17, the trauma triggers some enhanced strength and speed. But, you know, that's not something that's very common in the world. So they've kept it hidden for 4 years. And now that the war's over, her mom, who's a straight up Rosie the Riveter, is out of work. It's tough to support the family. So she goes to that factory that her mom had worked at, her dad had worked at before, and trying to get a job, you know, a secretariat job.
Hi, Adam.
She can do the work of 12 of these dudes. Now, the cool thing about this book, and my favorite part, was the research, because it's very, very steeped in reality. It takes place in this factory that is actually a real factory in Plymouth, Michigan, that during World War II was converted from a wire factory to a place that made Marsden mats. And Marsden mats are those long pieces of like 6 by or 12 by 6 metal mats that were turned into temporary runways in the Pacific and Europe. So like you could build a runway
real quick in
the jungle.
Yep.
And the plant in Plymouth, and there's one, I think, in Alabama that kept the contract, the only 2 in the country that kept the contract after the war, because eventually the Berlin airlift is coming and stuff like that. So they still needed to make these mats. And my great grandfather actually worked in that factory. And the coolest part of the research process, boys, was I found the actual factory and got to go.
Oh, neat.
That's awesome.
The week before they partitioned it for like office space.
Oh,
so I got
nice.
in there and I got
Right
video
before.
and pictures of, you know, the original machinery and the original fixtures and all that stuff. And it was really, really cool.
That's cool.
And so like the story is, it's an identity story, right? It's keeping her hidden while she can do these things. And the antagonists are like the dudes who came back and are taking the jobs from the women, are taking the jobs from, another great part about this story is, so down in Canton, the town south of Plymouth, was one of the first. There's this place called Canton Commons, which was one of the very first in southeastern Michigan subsidized housing things from the government for Great Migration African Americans to come up and work in the factories. And so like it's about gender, it's about identity, it's about race, and it's not only inspired by my late grandmother, but really, really, really dedicated to like all the young women who have come through my classroom over, you know, the last 20 years, who even in the 21st century, I've got these girls who you can see it in their eyes, you can hear it because they'll tell you they're still in a world where they're not necessarily 100% comfortable being who they are.
Yeah.
And it's, and how much that bothers me in today's day and age, right? For whatever reason, whether it is gender, whether it is religion, whatever it is that is making them not feel 100% comfortable being who they are in the world, you then extrapolate that and take that back to 1946 and put them in that situation, and it's exponentially more massive about you not being able to be who you are because of the roles that are being chosen from you for you by somebody who isn't you. So kind of like parallel in the fact that you get your comic book fun out of it, right? I mean, I'm going to give away kind of the first issue not cliffhanger, but like the big splash panel, which is inspired very much from this scene in the first Superman movie where little baby toddler Soups is like lifting up the car when it falls on Pa. So like that happens to Jane in like the first issue where she's there interviewing for a secretarial job, putting on her mom's best sundress, knowing that she's not going to get it, and falling further and further back as the manager, who's a friend of the family, is saying, "Yeah, I can't do it." Big thing of those Marsden mats comes falling down. He's ready to be crushed by them. goes black. He looks up. Why am I not dead? And there's this 15-year-old girl just holding him up without breaking a sweat. Hires her on the spot. Now she's wearing her superhero costume to work every day, which is her mom's Rosie the Riveter costume. And dealing with the sexism and dealing with the ageism of all these vets who came back and some of the ones who were 4F and didn't go. And it's a lot of fun. It means a lot to me, and I'd love to get that out into the world too.
Awesome. That sounds great. Super into it. Let's do that.
Do you have a place for that yet?
Also, Adam's saying you're on also volume 3 here, Parallelist. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, there is going to be
in
the Aliens and Predator verse, there will be a parallel versus perpendicular book. Yes. Where they battle it out, like those lines, they don't want to come together, but man, there's going to be an explosion at some point when they do.
So much foreshadowing.
But that project is in Travis's hands right now. He just needs to say yes.
Neat. That's awesome. I did reach out real quick because I knew Stoney had Stoney Williams from Mad Cave. He wrote Villainous that came out recently. He also got Neil Gaiman advice, and I'd heard it before, and I asked, and he said it's his is specifically to writing. It's 30 words max in a balloon. 180 words max on a page is a good rule. You can break it once you know what you're doing, but it's a good place to start. And I love that. I love just like plain and simple advice, but he's like, I always love it when it's like, but you can break it, because you have to at some point in all of that, but it's like something to strive for, but break it when you need to. Parallel breaks that a lot.
He's rolling his eyes at me right now. And somewhere Bob Sally, our editor of the book, is double rolling his eyes.
Yeah,
because as self-aware as I was about not doing that, oh boy, did I break that rule.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those broken in here. But then there's also, you make up for it at other times when there's not as much.
No.
You just even it out. There's just some pages where it's a lot more.
Yep. 100%.
Can I just take the average? Does that work?
Yeah.
You can just draw something for 4 pages and we'll just even it out. It's like, so what is up with these? There's 6 pages of him just walking down the street. It's full splash pages of him walking down the street. Why is that?
I had to make up for the word count.
Yeah, I had to balance it out.
I got in trouble.
Adam said he wouldn't do anymore. Well, y'all still going? Yeah, this is early for us, which I was gonna say I've had a tiring week and all of that, and my daughter's on spring break, so I need to be like functioning the next few days. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up soon. I don't know how you guys are feeling.
Well, this is my last hurrah of spring break, right? So
nice.
I've been like at PT and rehabbing all week with my dumb knee, and this is like my last hurrah before I've got to go back to school on Monday and be like, dun, 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 dun. Commas are fun. I am lying, but I'm gonna try my hardest.
Yep. They're really more interesting than fun, but yeah.
Somebody had mentioned this earlier, and I know that Nick, I think I said this because I don't know if you've read Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has cursive in it. And I said, I feel like this is a book that certain generations might not be able to read because they don't teach cursive anymore. Is that a true thing or not?
That is a true thing. So here's the education nerd in me. Like, cursive as a concept is so obsolete.
Yes.
Because I mean, it comes out of letter writing, but it actually comes up before that, because what it is it's before the ballpoint pen, before something with a well in the pen. It's when you were dipping the quill. Cursive is invented because when you lifted up your quill, it dripped.
Yep.
So
and then you would and smearing would be more of a thing. Yep.
Right. So literally,
it was practical.
We're not talking about like outdated in the computer age. Like, the minute the ballpoint pen is invented, cursive should have gone the way of the dodo, and it didn't.
Yep.
But
Refillable
yeah,
fountain pens.
it's
Killed
like
it.
it's so weird. It's like a slapdash kind of thing. Like every once in a while you'll get, you know, an ancient teacher or somebody who just like goes, yeah, let's do a unit on cursive, and then they usually give up halfway through. And I don't think my kids can do it. Now, if I'm being honest with you, there's probably a dozen capital letters where I don't even remember how to do them anymore.
Yeah. You could try to make something up. You could be like, that's probably roughly what it is. That's fine.
There's a lot of that G. I think the G goes, and then there's a nope.
Yeah, it does like a thing like this, and you make an ampersand and just move on.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's one that is obsolete for a lot of different reasons, but it's just gone. Nope. Yeah. It's not going to exist anymore. That's for sure.
I'm not sure what links, but all of our links are in the description of the show.
Yep.
So everybody, Cole, are you guys wanting to keep going?
I can. Well, we can grab it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody, we've been talking with Jason Douglas and his book Parallel from Source Point Press.
Boys, I'm feeling left out.
Don't feel left out.
We don't want you to FOMO.
Hey, look at that. 3 parallel
Let me show you guys this.
comics.
Oh,
dang.
Look at that. Sold out virgin foil variant.
Amazing.
This is the sold out trade dress variant.
Nice. That's awesome.
I'm going to drop some news right here because I believe it's arriving in the mail within a week. So these don't exist anymore except for on eBay every once in a while.
Some secondary market, yeah.
Yeah. Except there is one that's going to be arriving at my house from Esteban, the cover artist of this, that is a one-of-a-kind. He painted over the top of it a remark that I will be giving away on my Instagram account sometime this spring. So you need to come and check me out over at J. Douglas Writes.
Which is also in our description.
Yep. And I'm sure that when that happens, I'm going to spread it out from ours. So if you follow us, you'll at least see how to get in on that. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Very cool. Yeah. So for the one that you can buy, it's in the description. Along with Burrito, all caps code will get you 10% off in the Source Point Press store. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. It's been awesome having you. You have great taste in a lot of stuff.
Minus your take on hot dogs.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
We'll let you live.
That's an opinion informed from someone else. So he's still batting 1,000 for me.
It's true.
I blame Hodgman. So thank you so much. This has been and Comic Burrito, a live stream. I'm Todd.
I'm Cole. You can say your name too if you want.
Jason.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you knew this. My name's Jason, and gentlemen, this has been a ridiculous amount of fun.
Yay! Samesies. Bye. Bye.